Good morning and welcome into your Thursday episode of Hoops Talk with Dave. I'm your host, Dave Smith. Thanks for joining us here on Thursday, March the 6th. We are now 2 weeks away from the start of the round of 64 in March Madness, 10 days away from Selection Sunday, and 12 days away from the first four in Dayton, Ohio, kicking us off. And we've got a lot of great college basketball I can talk about, as well as some cool stuff from the NBA last night. Starting in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, the Florida Gators traveling into town to take on the Alabama Crimson Tide. The Gators walk out victorious 99-94. What a game this was. Florida looks like one of the best teams in all of college basketball. They sure showed it last night. Alex Condon putting up a career-high 27 points for him there, and Mark Sears pouring on 30 points to try to will the Tide over the finish line, unable to do so. Alabama falling off the one-seed line. Florida presumably taking their spot. This is back-to-back losses for Alabama, and it doesn't get any easier for them here. They travel to Auburn on Saturday to take on the Tigers. So it will be a fun one to watch there. Auburn and Alabama both coming off a loss to take on each other on the Plains. Elsewhere in the SEC, Ole Miss playing host to Tennessee. Jamin Brakefield scoring all 19 of his points in the second half of the second half. Great showing for him there, as well as a put-back offensive rebound to give them the lead by 2. They win this one 78-76 over the number 4 Volunteers. Ole Miss got a couple of elite wins this year, hosting Tennessee and at Alabama. 2 wins over AP top 5 opponents. Definitely a massive boost for the resume there for the Rebels. Great to see. And over in Norman, Oklahoma, the Sooners playing host to number 15 Missouri. And the Sooners get the big-time win. They needed this one. 31 points from Jeremiah Fears. And hey, check this out. Oklahoma, Texas, Georgia, and Arkansas came into this week all right on the bubble, some of them on the wrong side of the bubble. All 4 of them pick up big wins this week against other conference opponents, and they set themselves up, putting themselves in great shape for the final regular season game on Saturday. Great to see for the SEC conference there. Not great to see if you're not a fan of the SEC or someone who believes the SEC is overrated, which I don't know how you can believe that with how good the SEC is based on the eye test, based on analytics, based on metrics. Doesn't matter what you look at. The SEC is crazy elite from top to bottom. Our second-ranked matchup of the night last night took place in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Maryland, the Terps on the road at the Michigan Wolverines. Freshman Derrick Queen putting up 17 points, 12 rebounds, 19 points from Rodney Rice to lead the Maryland Terrapins. Vlad Golden pouring in 20 for the Wolverines. Maryland wins this one 71-65. In the Big East, UConn playing host to Marquette. The Huskies were 3.5-point home favorites in this back-and-forth contest. UConn got themselves a lead with about 10 minutes to go in the second half and ran away with it. Never gave it back. I won't say ran away with it, but they held that lead for the rest of it. Alex Caravan scoring 21 points, including a three-pointer, to really solidify the win for the Huskies with just over 20 seconds to go. David Joplin pouring a 23 for Marquette. And the Big East this year is so tough to me. I don't know where to look at them, how to see them. We know St. John's is the best team in the conference, but where do you go after that? What do teams look like such as Marquette, such as UConn, such as Xavier? How do you look at these teams and where do you place them? And then when we get to March Madness, how can I convince myself they're going to beat some of these top-level Big 10, Big 12, and SEC teams? How do I do that? I'm not sure. I mean, you look at UConn and how great they've been, but this is not the same UConn team. And the St. John's team is not like those UConn teams in terms of how dominant UConn has been. With that being said, I'll never doubt Pitino because he is an incredible coach, but I just don't know how to look at this Big East right now. Over in the ACC, Louisville playing host to California. Louisville winning 85-68, staying in the ACC over into Boston. Boston College playing host to Clemson. Number 11, Clemson, 78-69 victory for the Clemson Tigers. And then finally, our other ranked teams in action, Wisconsin on the road at Minnesota, winning 74-67, and Texas Tech playing host to Colorado, scoring 91 points in a 16-point win, 91-75. And of course, we had plenty of mid-major action last night. Nothing too crazy took place outside of UT Martin taking down Tennessee Tech in the first round of the Ohio Valley Conference Championship. UT Martin came in as the 8th seed. Tennessee Tech is the 5 seed. UT Martin takes that one 70-67. Outside of that, everybody pretty much stayed along their seed lines. The favorites taking place, winning there. But we do have some fun Arch Madness starting today, starting with some daytime basketball. We'll go ahead and hit there before we hit some big games tonight. Indiana State taking on Southern Illinois. SIU, a 1.5-point home favorite. This one tips off 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN+. And then right after that, 30 minutes after that, I should say, Missouri State taking on Illinois State. I've gotten to watch some Illinois State basketball this year. This is a good squad. They're 18-13 all the year. They've looked great in Missouri Valley play. Excited to see them take on Missouri State tonight. Illinois State is a 5.5-point favorite. Tip-off for that one 30 minutes after the first game, also on ESPN+. Both of those games taking place in St. Louis. And heading into tonight, plenty of other games from across multiple different conferences, but let's get to some Atlantic Sun semifinals. North Alabama playing host to Jacksonville. And yes, I said semifinal, and yes, I said playing host. The Atlantic Sun lets those home teams host here. North Alabama, a 6.5-point favorite over Jacksonville. Tip-off for that one, 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN+. And over to the number 1 seed, Lipscomb playing host to Queens. This Queens basketball team is really fun to watch. However, Lipscomb a 9.5-point favorite for good reason. This tip-off, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN+ as well. I like to see the 1 seed and the 2 seed matching up there, Lipscomb and North Alabama, in what will be a very, very fun game to watch. Only one ranked team in action tonight, Michigan State, number 8, Michigan State on the road at Iowa. MSU, a 6.5-point road favorite. Tip-off, 8 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1. And over the NBA, the Cavaliers playing host to the Miami Heat. The Cavs able to escape this one late. They didn't play great, but that's what great teams do. They find a way to win, and they win 112-107. The Cleveland Cavaliers are officially the first team to clinch a playoff spot. Good for the Cavs there. Over in Milwaukee, they win 137-107 over the Dallas Mavericks. Hey, Milwaukee looking pretty good here. Giannis Antetokounmpo scoring his 20,000th point last night. What a career he has had already to this point. And over in Boston, the Celtics playing host to the Trailblazers. Hey, listen to this one. First time in Celtics history that 2 teammates have each scored 40 points in a game. And I say that stat to you, and you probably think, wow, what a game for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. You'd be wrong. Jason Tatum did not play. Jaylen Brown really didn't have a great performance. Your 2 teammates here, Payton Pritchard scoring 43, Derrick White scoring 41. They combined for 84 points in a 128-118 win over the Blazers. Looking at tonight's slate, a doubleheader on TNT. Speaking of the Boston Celtics, they'll play host to the Philadelphia 76ers tonight. Boston, a 13.5-point home favorite. Tip-off at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on TNT. And the second game of the doubleheader on TNT tips off at 10 p.m. Eastern. The New York Knicks headed out west to take on the LA Lakers. LeBron, Luka, and the Lakers are 4.5-point home favorites. That's going to be a physical and really, really fun battle there. Over to our NBA League Pass game of the night. Take me to New Orleans. Houston on the road at the New Orleans Pelicans. The Rockets trending in the wrong direction. They've lost quite a few games recently. They'll look to get back on track here on the road at the New Orleans Pelicans. And speaking of the Pelicans, Zion looked great in his last time out against the Los Angeles Lakers. He'll be looking to keep that going. Tip-off for that one, 8 p.m. Eastern on NBA League Pass. And that closes out today's episode of Hoops Talk with Dave. I'm your host, Dave Smith. Thanks for joining us here as we get closer and closer to Selection Sunday, closer and closer to the start of March Madness. Simply, what an incredible time of year. Be sure to follow me on X at Dave Smith NBA for all the latest action, as well as a bracket for every conference tournament taking place, including my predictions for them. Super excited to see there. Hey, not doing too bad so far. We'll take it. Thanks for hanging out with us. I'll be back with you tomorrow morning for a full recap of all the action that takes place today, as well as a preview of tomorrow and looking ahead to the weekend. Once again, I'm your host, Dave Smith, right here on Hoops Talk with Dave.